I was so envious. I just wanted to be normal.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be normal so bad. I wanted to be a member of society. I acted tough, but inside I was dying. And I thought, I'm tired of chasing the pie, tired of the hustle, tired.
Welcome to the Living Louder podcast. My name is Portia Louder, and I have an amazing woman here today. She's actually one of Macy's good friends. If you haven't seen Macy's podcast, you need to go back and watch it. I met Macy in prison, and we became close friends. And then Macy came to Utah, and I got to see her after 6 years of me getting out of prison, and then she got out. And when Macy came, she did a podcast with me, and then I went over to my guest today, who is Melissa Lozano, and listened to her and Macy talk about their lives growing up together. And it was so fascinating to me how, again, I live 30 minutes away. My life is completely different, and how our paths cross, and how Melissa was able to come back from some pretty hard stuff. And so I asked her to come today and share her story. So thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your childhood, like what it was like for you to grow up. You grew up here in Utah or no?
Yeah, most of it. Most of it. My mom was kind of a little gypsy, and kind of we went everywhere. But mainly we grew up in the Salt Lake Valley. We had a really, really good childhood for, till little elementary. My mom and my dad divorced when I was super young. So he'd come in and out of our lives, but he kind of just left.
Yeah.
And so she remarried and remarried and remarried.
She struggled with relationships then.
Absolutely. Absolutely. She married not so nice guys.
Yeah.
Infidelity was a huge part of her life. And when she met my stepdad, life was really good.
Okay.
Life was really good. She was a great mom.
Mm-hmm.
We had a great family. They built a house together.
Yeah.
He cheated. She was very adamant about, nope, you will not treat me this way. I'm out, and she left. And that's when life got hard.
Okay.
I think I was in 5th grade. I don't know what age you are then, but
Yeah. Probably 10 or 11.
yeah, my sister became mom. My mom was working 2 jobs. We lost the house, obviously, and we moved back. We were in Magna back then, and then we moved back to the Salt Lake Valley, and my mom started working days and nights. It was just me and my sister. My sister was older. She started bringing boys over.
Yeah.
It started becoming, like, mom's not here. That's the hangout house,
Was your mom struggling with addiction at this point?
So she started managing a nightclub at night, and, things started getting weird. Started being like, what's happening? She started using then. She always was a marijuana smoker. I grew up with that. That was never a thing for me. But when she started working at the nightclub, she started using cocaine.
Okay. Did you see a difference in her?
Absolutely. And I was super confused.
Yeah.
Super confused. Like, what's happening to my mom?
Right.
And then she lost both her jobs
Mm.
and started selling drugs. And all these weird people started coming around. And, we ended up moving in with my grandma, and it just got worse and worse. And we started like weird people coming around, And I remember one time I knocked on her bedroom door, and she always played this game like, who is it? So she could hide things. And she opened up the door, and it was like super smoky in the room, And I was like, what is happening?
Yeah.
The first time I ever saw anything, my sister knew what was going on. She knew what was going on the whole time.
Right.
But she protected me. And I walked into her room, and she was asleep, and I was trying to wake her up to get her to take us to school. And there was a torch sitting on the end table, and it was lit.
Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And I was
So
like,
dangerous.
right?
Yeah.
I said to my sister, come here, look, what is that? And she's like, it's a heater.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
It got to the point, I think I was 13 at the time when we were in Wendover with her friends.
Is this when you and Macy started hanging out, or no? You were.
So almost.
Uh-huh.
We went to Wendover. My mom had a friend that lived out there. And
You just went to live with the friend, or?
we ended up moving out there. And it was super bad,
Mm.
super chaotic. I kind of blocked a little bit.
I was going to say, I almost imagine that if it was that difficult, you
Yeah.
block those things out.
I asked her one day, "What are you doing in there?" And they were in the kitchen and I was in the living room. There was a wall that split it up. And she's like, "Well, come on in." And I was like, and I walked in and there she is with her friend at the kitchen table. And my heart was shattered. There's my mom, my favorite person in the whole wide world. I'm going to get emotional. Smoking a crack pipe, And I was like, I just sat there like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like, so, I mean, my heart was broken. And from then on, it was, sorry.
You're okay.
It was chaos, complete chaos, moving from place to place to place. We stayed in Wendover for a couple years, and we had a lot of friends, and Wendover's a small town.
Yeah.
Everybody knows everybody. Everybody knew my mom was on drugs.
And if you don't know Wendover, it's kind of a little gambling town. It's in Nevada, so you can go a few hours from Utah. Pretty much a little party kind of a...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's tiny, and everybody knows everybody's business. Even if there's like a drug world there and a normal person world, and even the normal people know that the drug people are on drugs. And so we kind of surrounded ourselves with this little group of friends that kind of kept me safe, I guess. At the time, I knew of Macy. Like I said, we didn't get along. We had this big birthday party, and her dad called the cops and got it stopped. And so anyway.
And Macy's parents were involved in crime and drugs and all this.
Yeah, and I didn't know that at the time. It's weird because our parent, I don't know if they knew each other or not, but they were both
very involved in drug addiction.
Yeah. My mom ended up getting busted. The cops caught her on the main street on my birthday. I watched my mom handcuffed in the car. And we, as kids, we thought, I'm just going to go to prison and we're just going to get our own place. And I mean, we're 14 at the time, and we think we have it all figured out, but that's just what
You had to take care of yourself a lot anyway.
She ended up, at the time, it was me and my sister, and I had brought home a friend that she kind of took in, and she became our sister. So my mom shipped off me and Katrina to my aunt's house in Mesquite, and then my sister got to stay with my mom, and I was like, why does she get to stay? Like, why do we have to go? That was really hard for me. My sister, she was my person.
Yeah. And
so was Katrina. Like, we were very, very, very close. My mom ended up getting off of those charges. They proved entrapment, and nothing ever happened to her, which I was super grateful for. My mom ended up getting clean.
Okay.
At that point.
Do you think, like, as a kid growing up with a mom who struggled with relationships and addiction, and I talked to Macy about this, but like in terms of the criminal code, were you taught pretty young, like what we don't do is tell the cops, what we don't do is tell DCSF or tell Protective Services what's going on? So.
Absolutely.
Okay.
There was a couple times where my mom would actually pay us to stay home with her. Wow. And not go to school. We knew how to rock up her Coke for her. She would sleep in the car driving, and we would steer because she was passed out.
Right.
There was a time when I wouldn't go to school, and the cops would show up at our door, and she would be like, I don't know why these kids won't go to school. Right. And I'm like looking at her like, lady, you paid us to stay home. Right. That's when I started like dabbling in the drugs too in Wendover. Cocaine, never. I just thought it was like a party thing too, right?
Right.
Never became a thing for me then. Then after my mom got busted, we moved to Las Vegas with my grandma. She got clean. I was very angry that we had to leave our home. Very, very angry. When we got to Vegas, though, my mom started working again. Life became semi-normal, but then her and my grandma started gambling. So the gambling became a whole thing.
Right.
So I feel like it went from one addiction to another. She was clean, but then now they're addicted to gambling.
Right.
So that was rough. We grew up, we were very, very, very poor. Very poor. We didn't look like it, though. Our house was very nice. It was very well furnished. It was, Then, trying to think of the timeline.
How old were you in Las Vegas?
I think I was barely 15. Barely 15.
How long did you live there?
I think from 14 to 17 or 18, probably. Then my mom met somebody there. I don't know how or what, but then I think it was crank back then.
Meth, yeah.
Yeah. And that started. And that was a whole thing. There was a day that my grandma went to work and it was just me and my mom, and she wanted to go shop. And she wanted somebody to get high with her and begged me, literally begged me. And I was like, Mom, I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
Wow.
Come on, let's go shop. Let's go have fun. It'll be fun. Like, I'll give you $100.
Wow.
You know, and I'm 14 or 15 at the time. I think I was 15. And I'm like, Mom, just do it. And I did it. And I didn't like it. And I didn't like it.
Yeah.
However, it was continually
right there.
Come on, let's do it. It'll be fun, you know? And eventually she ended up meeting a guy that just supplied all the money and all the drugs that you could think of.
Yeah.
And we were paid. Go have fun. Get out of my hair. Here's a Maserati.
Wow.
Go, all the drugs, all the money you want. 15.
Wow.
And at that time, I ended up meeting my son's dad. Party. Mom's not here. Let's party. I ended up getting pregnant. And at that time, my sister was pregnant. She had just gotten pregnant. And I got pregnant. And everybody was super excited that she was pregnant because she was told she couldn't have children. She was 17. I was 15. I ended up pregnant. It was kind of a happy thing. You know, my poor mom, though. My poor mom, a 15-year-old and a 17-year-old, both pregnant a month apart.
It's interesting because people ask me I was 17 when I got pregnant for the first time, and they'll say, how did you feel? And I'll say, excited. Like, I was just so immature. I did not understand the responsibility to take care of a child. And I didn't know who I was, let alone, I'm going to have a baby. And when I work with young girls now that tell me, I just want to have a baby, I'm like, please, no, you are a baby.
Mm-hmm.
No, you don't understand. Like,
yeah, I had no business.
Right.
No business having a child that young. No business. I look at it now and I'm like,
oh, I was a baby.
I was so clueless.
Right.
And I had no...
You didn't have any support.
No.
You know? Yeah.
But I had a mom that, when I got pregnant, she turned into, I feel like I'm just constantly bashing her. And
no, she was a broken woman too.
Oh, so broken. And she was very, very controlling. When she was like, you're not going to work. I'll take care of you. I'll support you. And I look at it now and I'm like, you probably should have made me get a job and showed me responsibility, you know? But
right.
He was born in 93. Of course, let me just go back a little bit. Once I found out I was pregnant, I quit using completely.
Which you're lucky because a lot of people can't do that.
Yeah. And I was surrounded by it every day still. But I quit using. I didn't use with him. And then he was born in 93. And I was super, super clueless of the world.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
How to take care of a child or anything.
No idea. I was still depending on my mom 100%, you know? So his dad ended up moving in with us. That was...
not great.
No, it was awful. He was an alcoholic. He was gangbanging. He was in and out of jail, prison.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he was physically abusive, mentally abusive. It was just, you know, I'm 15.
Yeah.
And I remember our first physical fight, he had said to me, or he had beat me up. Cops came, he was gone, and my grandma came over and said, what did you say to him? What do you mean, what did I say to him? Like, no matter what I said to him, I didn't deserve that, you know? So fast forward a little bit, my mom ended up leaving us with my grandma. She was completely off the hook with drugs. She came back to Salt Lake and left me and my sister there with my grandma. Still no job, still depending on everybody else to take care of not just me, but now my son.
Right.
You know, I remember one morning I had one egg in the fridge, and I scrambled it up for my son, and I was like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Now what am I going to feed him for lunch?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I still look back and think, well, there was resources for me, you know, and I had no idea, no clue. And then his dad just popped up. Hadn't seen him for, you know, weeks, months, probably.
Yeah.
And hadn't handed me some money. And I was just like, oh, thank God. Thank God. He ended up getting locked up again. And I was like, I'm done. I'm out of here. I'm leaving. I'm going back home, which was probably the worst thing I could have done. But I moved back with my mom, and she was full on in the game. I didn't work. I depended on her still. It was drugs, people in and out, people kicking in our doors. Like, you know, that life is scary. And then I have a child that's in the mix, and I still had no idea how to get out or support myself. Or I tried getting little jobs here and there, and I feel like my mom threatened a little bit here and there. She would like babysit for me. And then as soon as I started like getting into the groove of things, she would be like, I'm not babysitting no more. Figure it out. So then I would have to lose my job again. And it was just like a vicious cycle. I started working as a CNA, and I lived in a house. Like I would have to be up at 5 o'clock in the morning, be to work by 6. Everybody would be awake. I mean, my house was full of people.
Mhm.
Everybody would be awake. I'd come home on my lunch break. There'd be people passed out everywhere. My poor son sitting on the couch watching TV. And one morning, out of the corner of my eye, my cup of coffee was on the table, and my mom and her friends were sitting at the table. And out of the corner of my eye, I thought I saw her put meth in my coffee. And I was like, did you just put something in my drink? Why would I do that? And I was like, I'm not drinking that. And I dumped it out. Come to find out, it was continuously being done to me. Her putting meth in my coffee. And I would come home and be like, gosh, my day went by so fast. Like,
Yeah.
it was so good. I got a lot of work done, and I was so full of energy. And she was like, haha,
Wow.
it was funny for her. When I found out, I was super devastated, like super devastated. And everybody used to say to me all the time, how do you live in the house with her and not use? And I'd be like, my son means more to me than meth. And eventually, I think what happened was we had to move real quick, and we had to get out of this house real quick. And she was like, if you just do this, you would get a lot more done. And I finally caved. And then life
Got
got
worse.
crazier real quick. I think at the time my son was 5. By the time he was 5, I was using daily. And I ended up getting into a relationship that was super abusive. It was probably, not probably, it was the worst relationship I've ever had in my life.
Okay.
He would beat me really bad. He would hold me hostage, and he would do things that you just don't think people would do to somebody they cared about. Our kids, he had 3 boys and I had mine, and they were not a priority for him. I think I was with him for probably 3 years, and in that 3 years I caught all kinds of charges. I lost house after house after house. I had a car, and he would like pop the hood, and I'm like, I'm not popping the hood, as I was trying to leave, and he would pull all the wires. It was just super violent, and he would bite me. When we would fight, he would bite me. He'd bite my head. I'd walk around the valley with the black eye so bad that I couldn't open it up, And my family watched me go through this, and it got really dangerous because people were shooting at him. He got into the drugs really bad too, and he would burn people, and so people would retaliate. And during that time, my mom was super, super, super into the drugs and meth labs, and she ended up getting raided. My son was there. My little cousin was there. At the time, my uncle, everybody in my whole family except my sister and one aunt had been involved in the drugs. And my uncle ended up going to the feds. He got raided, meth labs, my mom got raided, and I had to go in there and get my son, and he was asleep, and he slept through the whole thing. I had to go pick him up and, pretend like I had no idea what was going on in that house. And I don't want to, I've never been a part of this. I don't know what's going on in this house. Can I just get my son? And thank God he slept through that. He slept through the whole thing. He wouldn't wake up. I had to carry him out of the house. And I just thank God now, My mom got arrested and got charged, and there was a gun in the house. And so here she is facing federal charges. And now, they put her in jail. That was really hard for me and my sister. Me and my sister would go visit her, and she would tell her she was going to kill herself. And she went to jail, I don't even really remember how she got out, to a federal halfway house. She was kind of smart. She got into a relationship somewhere, somehow in the middle of all this with a police officer. Went to, did all her things. Anyways, she ended up having to go to treatment. She went to treatment, and while she was in treatment, she turned me into DCFS.
Oh, geez.
And I knew they were coming for me. And somehow, some way, I knew they were coming for me. And so I gave my son to my sister. And that was probably the hardest thing I ever had. And everybody said to me, this is your chance to get your life together, you know?
Right.
You can go with your sister. You can get your life together. And I said, in my head, I knew, oh no, now I'm really in trouble. Because what do I have
to fight for?
Yeah. And I did. It went dark. But 6 months later, I was with my mom and we went to a meeting and I decided I wanted to get clean and I wanted to get my life back together. And I went to the House of Hope. Or first I went to VOA.
Which is Volunteers of America, which is a detox.
Yeah.
And they have a program there as well.
And it was a great program.
I've heard.
The Women's and Children's program was great. It was great. I finally felt safe.
Yeah.
I was hungry. I ate good food there. You know, it was great. And then my son came. My sister brought back my son, gave me back my son, and he stayed with me, and we went to the House of Hope together. I think he was 8 years old at the time, or 7. He was 7, and he was going to turn 8. And we did 90 days there, and they helped us get back on our feet.
Yeah.
And we got on housing, and I ended up doing day treatment, and 6 months later, I was back at it.
So much trauma. It's not like people think, well, just get sober. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
It's not that easy.
No. No, and it's crazy because the girls I met in the house are the girls I relapsed with.
Right.
And I think once I quit going to day treatment, I went back out and just started all over again. And that lasted 8 years.
Wow.
There was a lot of the same thing my mom did. The exact same thing my mom did.
Which is something Macy shared too. She's like, I was so angry at the way that my life was, and yet my children had the same life.
Exactly.
And when she finally turned, that's when everything turned. But it's so hard when you're brought up a certain way to know how to do it any different.
You know, me and Macy met and instantly clicked.
Yeah.
Instantly clicked.
I feel that way about her too.
Through the drugs,
the trauma you've both shared, you know.
And just the similarities we have growing up, our parents, and then just the hustle.
Yeah, the hustle, right. To survive, really.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to grind to get by in that kind of life. Again, you have a child at 15, you have no skills, you don't know how to take care of yourself. All that you've seen is the drug world and just the basics of getting an apartment or a job or anything like that is so much.
And throughout, you know, you're on housing, you're on assistance. So that kind of gave us a place over our roof over our head, but at the same time enables you.
Yeah, I know. It's so confusing, right?
Yeah.
If we don't, I know a guy right now that's a shelter with his 2 kids, and it's like, I want to get him into housing, but there's something about working your way out of that gives you the skills to survive in life.
Yeah.
So it's very conflicting for me.
Yeah.
Do we provide housing or do we provide? Yeah.
Yeah. I totally had a roof over my head all the time, and I had food stamps, and I had, you know, and if I got a job, then my rent went up.
Right.
So
it's not encouraged to get a job.
Yeah.
So
but me and Macy were a lot alike when we had kids, we had a place, but we still had that hustle, and we were still locked in our bedrooms all the time getting high. I had a lot of trauma throughout the years that I was using. There was a time I got a gun put to my head, and, you know, my son was downstairs and I'm upstairs doing a drug deal, and they robbed me, and they said to me, you make one noise and I'm going to go downstairs and I'm going to shoot your son. Like, take whatever you want.
Yeah.
Take it all. Just don't hurt my boy, you know? And I always used to, I was thinking about it as I was driving over here, just a time where I've been up all night, you know, with people who don't, and going to Walmart, the 24-hour Walmarts, you know.
I have to tell you a funny story about that. I had a girl in prison that got up and she said, I live in a neighborhood where people mow their lawns at 2 a.m. That's pretty much describes a meth neighborhood, right?
Right. Or they're sweeping their grass or vacuuming it, you know, weird stuff like that. But, you know, I've been in and out I've got arrested a couple times, but my charges were stuff like
petty things, probably.
No insurance.
Right.
5 times, you know. My fines from when I was in that relationship, and I got charged as well.
Right.
You know,
Which is interesting because I had Destiny on the show and she shared all my charges were petty, but I had such a serious drug addiction. She didn't even really qualify for some big solid program like RDAP or whatever because she had these in and outs, right?
Yeah.
So you have these petty charges that don't really, you just keep going.
Yeah. And it's like you get out, they give you a fine, whatever, and then you don't pay your fine, and then you get a contempt of court, and then a failure to appear. All these charges that I had. The one judge told me, you were late on your fine one more time. I'm done with you. I'm done with you. You'll do 90 days.
Right.
And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And I'm not kidding. I was late that one day and he would not take my payment in 90 days. And so I was like, well, catch me if you can. Well, they did.
Yeah.
And I remember coming down in that little holding cell. I was in West Jordan's holding cell. And it was the worst experience for me ever.
Yeah. Holding cells are terrible.
Oh.
But we were coming down.
Coming down. It was hot. They wouldn't turn on the air. My TV dinner that they handed me through the slot fell on the floor. I had ants crawl. It was awful.
Right.
And another time I got arrested for warrants, no insurance. And I think I had like probably 10 or 15 grand, he told me.
That you owed?
That I owed in fines. And I had an 8-ball of methamphetamines in my bra. And I got arrested and went to jail. And I was like, oh my God.
Did you take it in with you?
I sure did.
Well, then you were popular on the block.
Well, thankfully, once I got into the pit, I was like, I'm not getting caught with this.
Oh, okay.
And I went and flushed it down the toilet.
Oh, wow. That's rare.
I know. I didn't care. I wasn't getting caught with it.
Yeah.
So all my charges throughout my drug use were, I never got any drug charges, thankfully. The worst I ever got caught with was a pipe, and somehow, some way, they never charged me with it. I did get DCFS called on me a lot. I cleaned up every single time. But once my DCFS case was closed,
you were back at it.
I was back at it. I remember, the Walmart story, driving one day and seeing all these people go to work. And I was so envious. I just wanted to be normal.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be normal so bad. I wanted to be a member of society, go to work every day. And boy, I craved it.
Yeah.
I craved it. I knew, I used to say all the time when I was using, God doesn't want this life for me.
Yeah.
He doesn't want this life for me. I'm not meant to be in the drug world. It's too scary for me. I acted tough, but inside I was dying. I ended up getting married. We moved into this new house, and I swore I wasn't going to bring anybody around. I remember our bedroom door didn't have a lock on it. And I was like, I'm going to have to sit behind my door so nobody can come in while I get high. And I thought, I'm tired of chasing the pipe, tired of the hustle. I'm tired of being broke one day and a pocket full of money and drugs the next day. I'm tired of the people. I'm tired of the chaos. My son's 15. He's found my drugs many, many times, but I lied. They're not mine. They're not mine. They're not mine. They're so-and-so's, or that's so-and-so's, and he's 15. He's not stupid. And I woke up one day and told my sister, I need to go. I need to go to detox. I need to go. I can't do this. I need to go. And she was getting ready to move to Wisconsin, I think in like 2 days. My mom was now in Wisconsin. She was clean. She was great. Our relationship was wonderful. And my sister was going to go be with her. So here's my 2 favorite people leaving me.
Yeah.
So I told her, I'm sorry, I love you. I got to go. And I went through probably the hardest detox. One of the hardest times. My blood pressure was up.
Were you using heroin at that point or just meth?
I'd never used heroin.
Okay.
Never, ever. I was so scared of using that because I knew.
Yeah, it's no good.
I knew I would love it too much.
Yeah.
I went to the VOA. My blood pressure was out of control. My nose was bleeding constantly. And I needed to go home. I need to go home. And when I came home, my son looked at me and was like, Mom, why are you here?
He wanted you to get sober.
So bad. So bad. And I was like, I promise I'm good. I promise I'm not going to use. I promise. And just the look of the disappointment on his face was heartbreaking for me, And I made it 2 weeks. When he knocks on the door and I relapsed. And I was so disappointed in myself. I called my mom and my sister and I was like, I need help. I need help. I can't. And I don't know what to do. But I can't do this by myself. I obviously can't be trusted. I called my stepdad and said the same thing to him. Dad, I keep relapsing. I can't do this. and I need help. And he said, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? Let's make it happen. And I said, I want to go to my mom's house. Everybody was clean. And that was they were my comfort. So he put me on a plane and I left my son. And he was so mad at me. And I promised him, I said, I promise. I promise. I promise. I knew my word was no good. And I got on the plane and left and got clean at my mom's house in Wisconsin. And I was gone from November 16th and I came home January 1st. And I've been clean since. I just had 17 years on the 16th. Yeah. I'm so grateful. So grateful I have a normal life again. And I'm that member of society. I work every day and I've had the same job since. I've kind of climbed the ladder and I started out as a CNA on night shift. That was really hard for me.
Yeah.
To be up all night, drug free.
Right.
That was really hard for me. I really struggled with that, but I did it. And as I got clean, I used to think when I was using, there were so many things in my way, so overwhelmed with, I have warrants. My credit is
right.
awful.
Right.
I have people wanting their money,
Yeah.
Credit bureaus and drug dealers,
Right.
And that job became I remember my first paycheck. I was like, what am I going to do with all this money? And I remember taking my son out to eat and buying him clothes for the first time and, being able to provide it. I was making $10.50 an hour and I was rich.
And also that confidence inside is so important.
Yeah, I got divorced, got in another relationship that was pretty good. Our kids became a little problem for us, though. Anyway, I've just kind of been relationship after relationship. I've tend to get men with pasts because
you have one.
I have one. Yeah. And so how can I judge if,
yeah,
and it hasn't
always worked out.
No, and I think I can fix them, and I can't.
Yeah.
My relationship with my son, let me say this. I started therapy and I have a wonderful, wonderful therapist. Wait, let me backtrack.
You're good.
My grandma got sick. My mom came back from Wisconsin and we took care of my grandma, her and I. I'd been clean. I don't know. This was probably 2014. Mm-hmm. My mom was still clean. Go ahead.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
You were born into this and raised into it, but when your mom got sober and in Wisconsin, did that have an impact on you? Do you think that was such a shift in your life?
Yeah. It was almost like we had to be separated. We couldn't
do it together.
So when she got clean, it was very inspiring. I don't know if inspiring is the right word.
You're like, if she can do it, I can. Okay.
Yeah. And we became really good.
Yeah.
Really good. I forgave her. She did a lot of awful things to me.
Yeah.
A lot of awful things to me.
And yet you loved her so much.
So when my grandma got sick, she came back and her and I were the ones that were in the position in the family that were able to take care of her. She had an aneurysm. She got it repaired. She ended up coming to my work as a patient. I work in a skilled nursing rehab facility. She got sick and she ended up passing away. And me and my mom really became super close throughout that because we were grandma's caretaker. She ended up saying, I'm going to stay. I'm like, Mom, I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think that's a good idea for you. She's like, no, I'm coming back home. And I'm like, Mom, please don't. Please don't. And I knew she can't stay away from the people. She can't. And you have to. You've got to disassociate from.
You do. You have to walk away.
And it's hard because you think these people are your friends and you think that.
You've been through so much together and yeah.
And it gets super lonely when you get clean.
Yeah.
And my mom is a very social butterfly, like super cute, super lovey, loves everyone, but she's feisty, and when she came back, she went right back. She went right back and I had to kind of
separate. Yeah.
And that was super hard for me because, I seen her do so good.
Yeah.
But she would deny. And I watched her go through so much and go from house to house to house to house to house. And it was super hard to not let her into mine. But I didn't. And my cute sister, she never got into the drug world.
Such a gift. Blessing for her.
She took care of everybody. That was, and I don't know how she did it. She took everybody's kids when we were all in trouble and using, and, at the time she had 3 kids.
Mm.
She never had her own kids.
Yeah.
She ended up losing the baby that we were pregnant together with. She took everybody else's kids.
Yeah.
And here she is, fast forward, my sister ended up getting married and having kids.
He had children. Okay. So they got married and she kind of helped take care of her children.
Well, they had kids together.
Oh, okay.
And so now my sister has her own kids, but my mom is back in the world and living the crazy life and always coming to us, and we'd get weird phone calls. I would get weird phone calls like on Father's Day at noon. I'd get a phone call like cussing me out, ripping me apart, telling me what a bad daughter I am. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? What's happening? And she's like, it's Father's Day. You haven't even called me to wish me happy Father's Day. I'd be like,
it's confusing, Mom.
You're not my dad.
Yeah.
And she's like, you've told me happy Father's Day your whole life. And I'd be like, this behavior is wild. She ended up joining the church.
The LDS church.
The LDS church. And I thought, maybe this is her chance. Maybe this is what she needs. Maybe this is her. Yeah. She was so excited.
Yeah.
And at the time I had told her, we're not doing this anymore. Like, I have to keep myself safe. You need to, it wasn't healthy. She joined the church. I was super excited for her. But at the same time, she was using. So living that double life, and she would still deny. And I used to say, like, tell my sister, I know she's using.
Right.
I could tell. I used to get high with her.
Yeah.
And then so I quit talking to her for a while. I didn't go to any of her church things. I didn't, I was invited and I'd be like, why am I going to go?
Right.
I was kind of a brat about it. I was kind of mean, but I started therapy. Mm-hmm. And I started working through my crap, and my therapist is great, and she's so great. And I started working on letting my mom back in little by little, baby steps. I invited her to Thanksgiving, which was huge for me. She didn't show up. Some wild story, something happened. Christmas time came, and I remember it was crazy because I remember looking at her, and she was there with my sister's kids, and I was super nervous because I had my boyfriend with me, and she liked to embarrass me all the time in front of me. Always. She'd just make it a point to embarrass me. So I was super nervous, but I was watching her, and I thought, gosh, she looks really pretty. She looks really, really pretty today. And she was playing with the kids, and then I left and went home, and so that was Christmas, January 4th. I had worked all day, came home, fell asleep on the couch, which I never do. And I fell asleep with my phone right here. And my phone rang. And when I answered it, I heard my sister screaming. And screaming like the scream I'll never forget. And it was my sister-in-law. And she said, you need to get her. And you need to get her now. And I was like, oh my gosh, what's happening? What's happening? I said, just tell me what's happening. And she said, it's your mom. So I lived probably 5 minutes from them. And I get there, and the cops are just leaving. And my mom had went out to Park City with one of her ex-husbands, and they were working, and they were remodeling a house or something. And he says she didn't feel good. And so she went to lay down, and he finished up and went to go wake her up, and she was dead. And I didn't get to say goodbye. I didn't get to fix anything. And come to find out, she died from combined drug toxicity, so several different kinds of drugs in her system. And I was so mad at her because I knew it. When she denied it, and we fought so much over it.
I wonder if people understand, as much as your mother hurt you, and as much as you went through, how deeply you love her.
And it's wild. I think all the time, like I used to think, how can I love her? Like, there were times when I remember telling her one time, I wish you would die. I wish you would die. And I can't believe those words came out of my mouth. But because she died, ultimately, me and my sister I don't even know it was possible to get closer with her. Super, super close. And to have to call my son and tell my son that his Grammy was dead was probably one of the hardest things I've had to do. They were super close. They had their own little relationship.
Can a person be so troubled with addiction and still be a beautiful person?
Absolutely. And she was, and everybody loved her. Everybody loved her. She had a lot of friends that she had for years. She was friends with all of her exes. She loved her nieces and nephews like they were her own. She loved her siblings.
Do you feel her close at times?
Especially when she first passed away. I had so much grief and so much regret.
Yeah.
That I ended up going to a medium. And the things that were said, I don't know how, but the things that were said was like, there's no way in my mind this lady could know if my mom wasn't coming through her. And it really, after that, I was able to let go of the grief. I mean, I still have grief, but the regret and the guilt. Guilt is a thing for me. Guilt is a huge thing for me, and especially with my son.
Which I understand the pain of hurting our children is the deepest pain of all pain. So I have nothing but compassion for others and myself.
Yeah.
And yet there's so much beauty in that relationship.
Yeah. My son turned out good. He turned out good, and everybody used to say to me, boy, you did a good job. I'm like, I didn't do that. He did that. He had to raise himself with the help of my sister. My sister is my kind of like Macy and her brother,
Yeah.
I can relate to that a lot. I told my sister the other day after I watched Macy's podcast, I said, I never thought I knew somebody who had a relationship like we do. She's my rock. I talk to her every day, and I never knew that was possible, and Macy and her brother are the same.
Yeah.
Except I think that they knew the bad world together. My sister was on.
But you needed each other to survive.
And my mom always used to say that when we'd fight. She would be like, you better knock it off. One day,
All you have is each other.
Yep. And now life is really good. There's different struggles.
Sure.
There's, I say I switched one addiction to the other, like now I like food and I struggle with that,
We're all battling something, right?
Yeah. I found a really good guy now. I'm in a really good relationship. We have a home. I have a car that's mine. And
insurance?
And insurance. And guess what? I said the other day, I've never been pulled over since I've been clean. I want to show my insurance so bad. Yeah. My son's doing great. I have a great job. I have a good life now, and I have God in my life. I've had God in my life the whole time.
Yeah.
I think truly I wouldn't have made it without God, Like I used to pray all the time, give me the willingness to do this. I want to be willing so bad, And he did. Like I got clean shortly after that. And that I was talking to my sister a couple of days ago. I was like, Jesus really is my homeboy. I said, I know we're not supposed to say that, but like I really truly feel like I couldn't have done this without my God,
Yeah.
And my cute little family now. I have a cute little tribe, is what we call it, our little tribe. Life is really good now.
So happy for you. I hope you know what an incredible, brilliant soul you are. To have survived all that you have this external beauty and internal beauty that glows.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I struggle with that a lot. I really do. I struggle with confidence most of the time. I act tough still, but inside I'm like,
scaredy cat.
I think this is like really the first time that I've told. I mean, I tell my story to my people,
Right, but this is kind of scary.
Yeah,
and it's kind of
scary. I don't. For a long time, I didn't tell my mom's story. I didn't want people to bash her. I didn't want people to judge her. I wanted to protect her, like I did my whole life.
Yeah,
But at the same time, it's part of my story.
It is, and also I think someone who was very broken and tried really hard.
Yeah.
And fell short often. And we can have compassion for that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I is it horrible to say that I don't want to say I don't miss her, but I don't miss the chaos.
No, it's not. I lost my brother 2 years ago, and he's somebody that I love so deeply. And he was such a pain in the butt.
Mm-hmm. Right?
I mean, but I miss him, and I can't wait to give him a hug. And he was so brave and strong, and yet he struggled in ways that made life very difficult for the people around him.
And, my sister said that too. She's like, I don't miss the anxiety, like the phone calls of like, And now I feel like I'm a little traumatized of losing my people now.
Yeah.
Like I'm so terrified of losing my people. I feel like time's going by so fast now.
Yeah, it does.
And, I talked to a friend of mine who threw me my 1 year sober party, you know? And she said, well, and I'm going to throw you your 20 too, you know? And I'm just like,
20?
wow. 17 years for me just went by so fast. I've experienced a lot of good things that I've made happen, you know? That's huge. It's huge.
Should be so proud.
I have a passport. I went to the Dominican Republic a couple years ago, you know, and things I never thought I'd ever do. I'm doing. It's great.
Give people hope. Your story is
I hope so. I hope so. I've always wanted to share, but never. It would take me 17 years, you know.
People will love it. Thank you for being
Thanks,
willing
Portia.
to share.
Yeah.
I'm super excited. When I met you and Macy together, I could see you guys share something really special because both of you have been through things I don't understand, but I have so much respect and admiration for both of you.
Yeah. Thank you. I love her so much.
Yeah.
I love her so much. I was a little nervous when she came to Utah, to be honest.
Me too.
I haven't seen her.
She's so genuine.
Yeah. I haven't seen her clean. I've talked to her on FaceTime.
See, I didn't ever see her high. I just missed her, and she has a strong personality, and so do I.
You should have seen her high.
I'll bet. Yeah.
Oh boy!
Shout out to Macy.
Yeah, I love her.
Yeah. Well, next time Macy's in town, we'll all three have to get together and do another podcast.
Oh, I would love that.
So
I would love that.
Thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me,
Yeah.
Portia. It's a blessing to be here with you. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for joining us today, and we'll be back next week. Thanks for following the Living Ladder podcast.